I think it is important to note that it will, if there is any key to the game here for Splatoon Sucks, it needs to be a multifaceted effort coming in from the whole side. Of course, they just faced off against another pickup team. Lowkey is maybe one of the furthest things you could get from a pickup team, an established sponsored team that has been practicing with each other non-stop consistently over the last few months, if not more than that. So you're going to need to provide a top-notch performance from top to bottom of the roster. Yes, it could start with Kazuki.
And speaking of a roster, how about this? We have Sorella Brella, we have Kensa L3, and Bamboozler, only from Lowkey.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it before, the kind of interesting picks we'll see, and Lowkey will be the ones that do that. Of course, Brand, with their comfort picks, will not be able to come out on top of a hammer to the face, and will be Arashi opening up the flames with that one before maybe getting a throw onto BSME from 1.5 miles away. And it's going to be the Rainmaker getting off to an early start here, but fortunately enough for Splatoon Sucks, they're able to have that staggered defensive approach that lets them get back to the thick of things soon enough. But it will be Gamer taken out at the 45-point marker after sneaking by just a few more members than maybe he should have.
Well, that was actually, so I'm actually really happy that they were able to get that push in that situation, because when you get caught up there and not able to make that jump, sometimes you get stuck somewhere in the 50s. To be able to get a 45 from that is big. And now you see Brand moving up there, trying to get some picks. Only one down. Can B make the jump, or will Arashi get him? Whoa!
And he's making it look easy, is the thing.
How do you control this thing?
That's a good question. Nintendo, how do you control this thing? Arashi has the answers, apparently, which are so often hard to come by. And it will be the rest of Lowkey, not just Arashi, able to open up things here, the one getting a couple hit markers, and if nothing else, being able to call out to their teammate, hey, you still have Brand here sitting by. Brand, the one player that is able to come out on top in 1v2s, 1v3s. But unfortunately, they will still go down despite the call out. That's going to be 3 members going down on the behalf of Lowkey, opening up a little bit of a gateway here for BSME, but maybe wanting to play it a little bit more aggressively here, Brand, as he is able to flank it from the left, maybe catch some players off guard. That's going to be a last-second kill onto the one, and they might be able to get the lead off here with the baller combination, but there is just too many players on the defensive before they're able to do that.
The brilliance of Brand to go as far as he did onto that left side, use the inkjet, and then have the presence of mind to move up and help support that push is what opened that, and the patience of B to wait for his opportunity to go up there, knowing that that jump was all they needed. And now it's on Lowkey to make a big push, and Tetsu needs to be careful not to get too overzealous.
Yeah, B having to play patient, also having to, the Lowkey defense was there, and all they needed to do was hit a sponge, and that's what they did to be able to make sure that that Rainmaker didn't get far enough. But it was efforts like Brand, whether it was back then or now, that was able to get the rest of their team moving, get that lead, and it's so important with 2 minutes left to go. When you open up the first game like this against a side like Lowkey and say, not only are you able to keep up with them, but able to get the lead, that's a big statement.
It is indeed. Then now Lowkey needs to find a statement as well. The first part of that statement ideally being getting into the middle of the map. You see Arashi and Brand dueling on the other side. Brand, of course, winning and getting the pick onto Tetsu as well, is now going to get a chance to flank the one, instead opting to try to go with some Star Fox 64 here, and that's not going to end well. No, drop roller. Fantastic play there by Gamer.
As we often see, Red Star on the right side of the map. Unfortunately, not too close to Kazuki, who would be the one to defend, but it's, you know, nothing too bad happening here. It will be still remaining a neutral play here, and both teams trying to feel each other out now, maybe play a little bit more patiently as they build up their special. As we do see in the top left screen, Arashi using that hammer to a T, able to maybe get rid of a couple more members, and if that is another player that does go down, it is for Splatoon Sucks. This opens up a nice potential way for them to get through that right side of the map and get a lead going, but as soon as we say that, of course, Brand showing up to the Call of Duty, and will be able to at least distract the rest of their team, make sure they're at least looking for him while he's able to super jump out. That's a big purchase on time for their team.
And it is. And one of the other reasons that jump out is so good is because it's going to give them the opportunity to use that inkjet here, jumping out instead of dying there. Sometimes the trade is nice, and sometimes it just loses you your special here. And again, Tetsu somehow got away from that. This is a very awkward spot for that Rainmaker to be in. It's not going to be easy for them to paint here, as long as the members of Splatoon Sucks don't get too overzealous and instead just play patiently and defensively as we see here. I'm not sure that Lowkey's going to get a chance to pop it unless Arashi is able to do it with...
Oh, that's a sponge.
Oh, was that Brand?
So
was that
important.
Brand?
No, it was. Of course it was Brand. Yes, hiding behind the sponge. Why don't you? And yes, of course, all you need to do is shoot that sponge, fleeing over, panic shooting, and maybe all that is required to hold this defensive effort. It's a 2v3 here. They need the super jumps to come out now. Can Splatoon Sucks get on the ground where those super jumps are and make sure they don't get on there? No, they don't need to. They just need to stick on this Rainmaker, make sure they just get enough ink on it, and call it a day. And it looks like that might be what happens here.
And hindsight is 20/20, right? But I think there was an opportunity for a boost and maybe Gamer to go forward a little bit and get a little bit closer with those shots that were right there. But again, you cannot say enough how many fantastic individual plays were made that opened that up here. Brand sitting at 16 KA, the top of all players. And there are so many little things as well that you can point out that he did right there. There was an engagement on the top of a spinner against the one in a matchup that really you don't want to be in. A shooter locked in a just right next to Umbrella. It can be very difficult to do that, but was actually able to force a stalemate there, and that kind of slowed things down. How far can Splatoon Sucks go? Like this is unreal.
This is a pretty impressive run. I don't think we've talked about that really enough. They entered this bracket, I believe, as originally one of the, I think, maybe 10th through 12th seeds. I forget which one.
They were the number 8 seed, I believe.
Okay.
But they were in that bracket of, okay, coin flip, you could put them 12th. Like, that was kind of where they were.
Yes. And so, impressive. And I think talking about before, one of the keys to the game is it can't just be about Brand. We didn't touch on it, but Red with the 14 KA is important. We've noted whether it's Red or Kazuki, who showed a 17 KA earlier. If it's just even one person that's able to pop off as much as Brand, that is so much and so important. But we'll have to see if that remains consistent. It doesn't matter who it is, whether it's even Brand as part of the picture, but it just needs to be those 2 players or more that show up. It can't just be one.
Tower control, the Reef. We talked earlier. We saw this earlier. Aggression, the map, the mode. And we saw how quickly this one can go, too, with the snowball. And we saw, again, in that opening, just to kind of remind everybody what we saw, is we saw the members of Seafood Sorbet and Control Gaming push up and force the members of Kiwi Gang back to the wall. Like, really to the wall. There was a point where Nezzy was trying to swim back and could no longer swim back. That is what you want to force your opponents into with positioning, with your sub-weapon, with your main weapon. We will see now if that remains to be the case. I'm not sure that the level of coordination is quite there, but we again have seen Splatoon Sucks is able to work together and push up, as we're going to see the same composition coming out from both teams. Did B change?
Both teams.
Fundamentally the same.
Both teams.
Both teams. We'll say that.
And Red, of course, still with that end, did very well. No, not really too much reason to change, especially on this map mode. So we'll see how that pans out for them. Tetsu, of course, is going to be on, of course, one of the more niche picks. You don't really see this too often, but Tetsu able to.
It's a hard weapon.
Yeah, it really is. And that's the skill cap, is one of the reasons why Tetsu is, able to grind it so much and really enjoys being able to play it at such a high level. But it's going to be Bran on that high level, being able to get a quick double, as it is a 4v2 in the middle of the map with an inkjet and a couple more specials coming. But unfortunately, no connection right now. They will get towards that first checkpoint and get things going. But will it be B here able to at least get more than just a hit on Umbrella and open things up for the rest of the team? They're all together.
Did Arashi just get a triple?
Yes, they were all of them together right next to a hammer. And that is exactly what Arashi would love to have.
Well, hey, that's one way to defuse it there. And, 48, this is another one of those maps we talked earlier, the 3 checkpoint maps. There's always one that's most important to get past. This first one tends to fall really quickly. It is the second one that is the most important to do. They have 3 over here on the side. If Tetsu's able to find a pick onto B back there as they're kind of jousting around, they might be able to take the lead back.
They might be able to, but it will depend on if they can get rid of the remaining members, or at least the remaining, member. It will be at least one player towards the bridge here, but Bran able to sneak up on them when they were least expecting it and use their tree to their advantage to make sure that that player on the tower is gotten rid of immediately, maybe even the triple coming on out here. Yes, of course, Bran, of course you will, and it's going to be a little bit more orange than Lowkey would like to see. Here, Arashi in a quick one-on-one towards the far side of the map. Bran still staying alive, almost gets the hit on the Tetsu, who is furiously spamming at his legs, and it will be at least tower back in control control of Splatoon Sucks, who have done such a great job so far of not only keeping up the momentum from the first game, but making sure that they're really allowing not too much breathing room here for Lowkey whenever they get on the offensive.
The frontliners do go down. Kazik being the last one, and every missile just going right after him, going to go down in that situation. But this is the turning point in the game right here, I feel. What is Lowkey going to be able to do to establish some semblance of control? You see, they were not able to push up in the same manner that we have seen Splatoon Sucks do. In fact, B almost single-handedly was able to slow them down and not give up his plat area. And now Brand, that gives him time to move around here. And I don't... Are you seriously going to do this?
No. Are you able to get away with it? Okay, I was about to say.
Not this time.
Yeah,
not this time.
I mean, the hammer wasn't going to fit in there. What? The alley-oop and a half? Sure. Why not? Sure.
Toss it up there. You never know what'll happen. And Tetsu, again, needs to find a pick on to be there on the side as they approach the checkpoint. Will they find the lead? The Brella kept them alive just long enough.
What just happened?
The Brella did what the Brella does.
Sure.
And protects the team just long enough for them to get that. Everybody was there firing, but one Brella was just enough. And now it's going back the other way. What can Splatoon Sucks do to achieve some pressure? Because playing defense when you have the lead, it's an entirely different game.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm really curious to see how Splatoon Sucks responds in that regard. They do have the baller to be able to at least protect themselves for just a second longer. Specials do come out a little bit just at the right time. Will it be enough, though? It will be Arashi, of course, with the Shaquille O'Neal slam dunk. And a quick double coming out to make sure that they get the ace right when they needed it. But, of course, there's still a whole minute left to go and then some for this side. That was the first real defensive effort that we've really seen when they needed it.
And can we just appreciate the fact that they had gotten to about 50 or 48 points with a baller on tower.
Yes.
And they still found a way to defend.
Yeah. And it was more than just the baller that was coming out. So it was impressive in that regard. But Arashi, again, with the hammers non-stop. That's another one coming out. Arashi just showing off at this point and making sure that they're able to get it beyond that second checkpoint, that dastardly one you were talking about that so often defines games. But can he stay along for long enough? I mean, just Arashi being alive for long enough in and of itself is going to be able to help his team not only get to that last checkpoint, but maybe just move things closer to knocking me out.
And they are fine. As many of them have to go down as possible to continue pushing this forward. Time is starting to become a factor here. Tetsu perfectly fine. And are we going to see another one from Arashi?
Oh my goodness. This is actually ridiculous.
We said that Arashi versus Brand was going to be the matchup to watch. Apparently it's Brand versus the Hammer is what we're going to need now. The one going to sit here, distract Red as long as possible. I'm not sure that they're going to be able to get anybody on the tower here. Red going to try to get up and does indeed. We will see a little bit of overtime, but this is a long path for them to run.
Yeah, the only way we see Splatoon Sucks win is if this is a lot of overtime we're going to see. It's going to be the baller coming out at the front lines, but in the back lines, it's going to be the win for Lowkey, who are able to win a much-needed game, honestly.
Look at that hair flip from Arashi. A consummate showman right there. Let's see how many hammers this was. All right, 7 hammers, 16 KA, and a number of highlight reel shots.
Yes, and being able to show off on this stage, especially, is something commendable. Hats off with something like the hammer. Something so showy, so boisterous, really, is the stuff we love to see on this stage.
Hats off, hammers out. That's how it goes. Splatzone's Piranha Pit. We saw this one earlier. I know the one has a fantastic Explosher. We talked earlier about how strong Explosher is on this map.
Yes.
I think that might be one of the safer bets, but Gamer's also here. So the real interesting thing here is the Explosher is a backline weapon, conventionally, at least in the way that a lot of people would describe it as a backline weapon. It is not very quick. It's not very mobile. But it's great at supporting the team. It's great at putting chip damage. And more than anything, it paints fantastically in build special too. But Gamer also is a backliner who is able to use the ballpoint splatling, which, wouldn't you know, it is also a very strong weapon. So that's going to be what I'm interested in seeing, how they opt to shake this up. I see no reason for Arashi to change. Tetsu seems to be comfortable with his pick too. And we know Splatoon Sucks, with the exception of B, probably isn't going to change too much either.
Yeah, no, generally, you know, on the Splatoon Sucks side, we haven't seen that much. And I wonder to what degree that might turn things in the favor of Lowkey over time is that, you know, not only just versatility in weapon class choices, but how much ground they cover in their choices. Is that something that might catch Splatoon Sucks off guard, especially over time, and enable them to come back and win a 3-1 or 3-2 set?
catch them off guard? I'm not sure. You have to remember that these are veterans of the game. Even if it's not as much recently, they still have the presence of mind. They have the fundamentals. Those never go all the way away. I'm not sure that it'll catch them off guard, but it might just outright beat them. Gamer is going to stick with that, so we will see the one sticking on the Brella. I guess he's probably going to go that the whole time. And keep in mind, they don't have a conventional frontline weapon, so with the one going that's going to make their engagements just a little bit easier.
Now we do see, of course, Brand pushing up as quickly as possible with the help of at least one teammate, able to get at least an assist on one, but nothing doing beyond that. A 3v1 opening up for Arashi and co. And it will be Lowkey that is able to get the nearly full wipe. That is the full wipe that it does come out. And a whole bunch of yellow. That's not exactly the start you like to see in Piranha Pit, where it is so possible to lock the other side out. Fortunately enough for Splatoon Sucks, they're going to be able to open up how they enter the middle of the map, taking the safe route all the way to the side, where as Kazuki uses that baller to maybe open things up for them.
The torpedo, that Brella is so annoying in its own right, just very difficult to deal with. Tetsu firing some very brave missiles as well, but that's going to force Brand into a bad situation, has to jump out, and that was their frontline pressure there, and he actually jumped out, making me eat my words, into a splash down there. You know, that's why he's great. Making the best of a bad situation.
Yeah. As they're so often able to do, and now Tetsu in a great vantage point to take care of the players he knows was on that ramp, and able to at least make sure that they push themselves a little bit further away from zones. Tetsu doing such a good job, not just, maybe not necessarily, although, yeah, sure, getting the splat there, but if not getting the splat, covering so much ground, making them trip up at their feet with the loss of control at their feet. And now it's Kazuki struggling in the middle, you know, getting some help from the Inkstorm. Fortunately enough, able to get rid of Arashi before that hammer comes out swinging, gets the double, and this might be exactly the start they needed to get things going their way.
Poor Tetsu.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. The Sharks are hungry chasing after Tetsu. But I almost wonder if they didn't go too far back. That was met with almost no resistance trying to get their own zone back. And that's really the key here in any two-zone map. You have to be cognizant of where the opponent is and how quickly they can get back to neutralize the easier of the two zones for them. Arashi going to do that and keep going with this hammer. Gets to what? Okay. I was about to say no.
Bran able to thankfully stop the hammer just like that. Fortunately enough that for their side, they have been able to at least stop Arashi a little bit more with that dastardly hammer, but so far, not enough, as Gamer has been able to catch out with that ballpoint so menacingly, so much ground, covering so much ground, as Splatoon Sucks struggling to really find themselves outside of the base at this point. The one using that opportunity to maybe cover some ground, get special going for the remainder of their team, as they're looking to get an offensive going with a short penalty. This could be something with enough special coordination is able to maybe get the knockout going. Arashi able to use that special to get 1, 2, and 3 out there.
Where's the fourth?
Unfortunately not coming just yet,
Dang
9,
it.
but...
Oh, he threw it at him.
I was about to pop off if that actually did land, but Bran is able to survive for just a second longer, and thankfully so, because if that was the last kill coming, that might have been the game immediately. They need to be able to get here. Of course, right now there is no penalty, just 10 points remaining. Kazuki with the ball and might be able to do just that. Comes out on top with their teammate, does force loss of control, and it is going to be a full wipe finally for Splatoon Sucks, just when they needed it.
One thing I want to briefly describe here that set all that up for Arashi. They did a fantastic job through use of a beacon and through jumping people over there, getting all the members of Splatoon Sucks back on that side. Arashi, I'm sure, has gotten a number of fantastic kills with that hammer. That was probably one of the easier triples he could have gotten there. Great overall teamwork and hurting of the opponents, that strong positional play.
Now, we did see a one-on-one to the side between the one and a player from Splatoon Sucks. The one coming out on top, that might be a big one here, as there is not too much time left. The score very much in Lowkey's favor, and this time that they bought by just winning that one-on-one makes the middle of the map stay neutral. And of course, that's going to buy time for Lowkey to get into the middle of the map. We see Arashi, of course, using that hammer, expecting it, and finding B just where he wanted him to, but it's going to be right on the ramp. Will they be able to come out on top? No, unfortunately not. And now 9, I worry that Lowkey might have been able to guarantee this game, at least with the recent 2 team fights that they've been able to win.
Well, and if anything, this shows you that they are the stronger team at moving back in. They found ways to separate the opponent and push them through. And maybe more than any other team that I've seen so far, their ability to use all of this giant map. I'm not sure that I've ever seen more time spent away from zones than I have seen in this game. And it's worked well, and it's helped them get a lot of favorable engagements. Look at that. In all of that engagement, They made sure that Splatoon Sucks didn't get the zone. They have it now, but Arashi also has the hammer. And never mind, he also has a respawn circle.
And so what we do have on our screen, though, is finally, for one of the first times in a hot minute, is a little bit of a man advantage going towards Splatoon Sucks' way, and Brand in a great place to be able to at least play a little bit of defense. And they will need to do that for the remainder of this overtime. But unfortunately for them, they're going to lose that top zone there, and it's going to be another game going to Lowkey. But it isn't too much momentum lost on Splatoon Sucks' end. That was still very much a back-and-forth game that's still showing plenty of promise for them.
It was a back-and-forth game, but we saw on our screen something that I didn't call out at the time because I thought it was, kind of benign, and I didn't know how big of a part of it was going to be. We saw Gamer set down a beacon, and it was in the back, and it was out of the way, and it ensured that any time they wanted to, they could force one of two things. One of the members of Splatoon Sucks was going to have to go way out of their way to get to that beacon, or they were going to let someone jump in. There at the end, we saw Gamer flanking. It forced everybody to look the other way. As that was going on, they were able to take the zone. That was a game plan total victory. You said it was a back-and-forth game, and it was, but in terms of the game plan and in terms of the execution of that game plan, it was not close. That is why people like Lowkey.
Right, and we talked on just, wow, this map is being used extensively in a way that we have not seen it before, and it wasn't in that regard. It was entirely opened up from beacons like the ones Gamer put down. So we'll see if that kind of level of strategery is able to make itself over to Anchovy Games, which I would suspect it definitely does.
This is an interesting one for Clan Blitz. This is one of the slower maps.
Yeah. It is so often one of the slower maps, at least. But and I feel like Splatoon Sucks will struggle to thrive in that kind of space, at least, and especially if they are able to use their beacons to the same extent and use the map as much as they did with the previous one. I see this set going Lowkey's way.
Yeah, I mean, the momentum's certainly there. It would be kind of betting with house money at this point if you wanted to go for Splatoon Sucks. But one thing I will say is if they are able to get the score and if they're able to push in, they have the composition that can keep scoring. If Bran, B, Red, if one of them is able to get up there and put pressure on the opponent, it will allow one of their members to go back and collect more clams. Earlier when I called this a slow map, what I'm referring to is that typically the clam spawns are not right next to the basket. I know right now there are, but clams spawn in pods of 4, and it can be very difficult to build a lot of clams on this map. Typically you'll see somebody sneak a baller in and jump to that. You see 2 ballers actually coming out here from Splatoon Sucks. They certainly know how it works. But if you're able to get in, you can force people back into their spawn and score a lot of points.
Conversely, we will see a blaster coming in from Gamer as well, which is interesting to note in the face of these 2 ballers that are going to come out from the Splatoon Sucks side. We'll see if they're able to use that effectively. We will see Red, who we haven't talked about too much throughout this set, standing off to the left side as Brand, the conversely most talked about player, heading up things towards the fan with the help of BSME or Boneless. Baller will come out in front of them, signaling, let's maybe slow things down a little bit. As, Splatoon Sucks, they're waiting on 2 specials, whereas Lowkey just expended them, and it should be, at least on that note alone, if they're able to gain control of the middle of the map, maybe something going Splatoon Sucks' way.
This really is, again, a map where trading control at the center of the map kind of becomes what you're essentially doing here. You never want to rush in because that can happen. Very quickly, people are on you there. And now we're seeing it be in an awkward position here, just trying to put some paint down and probably distract the opponent. This jump isn't going to do a whole lot for them either. Probably trying to get a jump at the other side. Kazuki going to go ahead and blow up that baller. But again, it is so difficult to score. You saw that. 4 people making sure that none of that even got close.
And, I mean, of course, the smart thing happened with that push. They did. It wasn't successful, but thankfully they still had had, past tense, their 2 footballs, but it will just now be a single football at their grasp for now. And Lowkey, of course, you touched on it before, how impressive they are generally with Clan Blitz and that coordination we so often see from them. We're seeing more of that as that clan counter goes higher and higher their way. But Kazuki does have a great vantage point here, especially with the Rapid being able to at least call out movement on their behalf. But despite the direct, not able to get on the Gamer, and it will be the remainder of the side.
This is why he picked this weapon. the splash down and the follow-up on it too. So earlier you were saying that it was an interesting pick, but the reason that the Vanilla Blaster was gone for there is so often in this we see what? Super jumps in and scores afterwards. The ultimate feint, the ultimate trick is that, jumping in with a splashdown and with a blaster that even if it misses can get an indirect. That time Gamer got 2. Not much more came of it, but at least you see why you would go with that.
Now, BSMN here is trying to respond, and how did he get that splat in that corner and that fight? Apparently he did, and it will be at least both of them heading up with Bran on the right side of the map, able to open things up. Now 2 members down and 32 clams to boot with it. This is their best shot yet at taking this one halfway into the game, but still 4 members remaining here for Lowkey. The fight here is going to be incredibly important, and conversely this baller, but not able to get that baller around the inflatable, will still be 3 members on the defensive. Of course, they do open up that barrier, but with so many clams, the clams that they did have, can they get more going? The answer is yes. It wasn't every single clam they could have gotten, but surely still enough to get more than enough points on the board.
It is, but you mentioned a lot of clams. Wait till you see what the clam count is about to be on the other side, and the one is going to have his baller. I don't think he got close enough. They're going to try to jump and make it happen anyway.
Yeah.
No, it is not. Gamer not going to be able to get even close here. I think that was a little bit ham-fisted. Did not need to really try to force that situation. They had the baller there. They could have tried to go for a couple picks, maybe a little misdirection here. Fortunately for them, Arashi's going to hold on to this position, and it's a strong one here. Going to be able to move forward here, and it looks like a couple people are going to go down. Arashi going to do it himself. The call-outs there. The jump is going to come in. That is going to be a dominating lead. There goes the splashdown. Arashi had a hammer after all that, too?
It's tough to win this game, you know? It's tough to win it, especially when you're faced with that. And now I have a hard time seeing Lowkey dropping this one with the level of coordination and consistent play from their side. It will be Bran, though. We do see at the top of our screen sneaking around. Arashi may be able to call that out, but this is the perfect part for maybe Splatoon sucks to start super jumping their way towards the field goal, but just one super jump is not enough by any means. BSME does get close enough to maybe offer another point of jumping for their player, but again, still nothing doing. They didn't force what was actually required, which was people down on the behalf of Lowkey. Weren't able to win the fights they needed to be able to get control in front of that field goal.
This is really clever. The one's going to be going backdoor here. Oh, maybe not clever enough, but no, they are still going to be able to sneak through here. This is going to be a lot of points. This is going to eat through their entire penalty and maybe more. And look at that, separating where the jumps are going so that they can survive just a little bit longer. All 4 are going to go down, but this is going to be a big push. It's going to have to be 3 power clams and change to win this.
Match point. Bran with 9 clams and surely going to need to balance his way through these as he does get that football potentially by accident, but the bomb is going to at least get onto maybe a glancing glow from the blue side. Inkjet does come out to save Bran. They do have 3 players in the pit. This has to be it. It's overtime.
Arashi's hammer
is what they needed. That is exactly what they needed. That should be the game. The controller's on the table, and that will be the set here for Lowkey as just by 6 points are able to come out on top and move into losers semifinals. It was a scary set for them.
Saying scary would be the least there. They had that worked out. I'm amazed that they were able to find a way through there. Bran getting his, and then B having the presence of mind to jump back in with the baller. They almost had that coordinated, and Lowkey got, I think, a little bit too defensive there at the end. Kind of allowed that to happen by being a little bit passive, but they get the win. That is what they needed to do.